Drove all over in high-performance BMWs. I often did over 150 miles per hour legally. I never once saw an accident. The German motorways are the safest in the world. Mike in Fife. I often travel through Europe on motorbike and see the difference. Germany has the best driving standards. The unrestricted parts of the Autobahn mean that people really have to be aware of what's going on. And James in Jersey drove across Germany last week. Most people cruise at 140 kph with no issue. In 7.5 hours, though, I did see one crash. Right, that's that subject. Please stay with me. I've got plenty more. The house that's pelted with golf balls. And give us treatment or we face self-imposed lockdown. Here on BBC Radio 2, on the Sounds app on your smart speaker, and 88 to 91 FM.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Adam Porter. The former BBC Breakfast presenter Bill Turnbull has died aged 66. Boris Johnson says his successor has the fiscal firepower to provide support with surging energy bills. And the tale of the stowaway squirrel who ended up in Aberdeen. Former colleagues of the BBC Breakfast presenter Bill Turnbull have been remembering his life and work following his death at the age of 66. He'd been diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2017. Bill Turnbull's career in broadcasting began at Radio Clyde in the late 1970s, before he joined the BBC as a reporter. Big stories he covered included the Monica Lewinsky affair and the trial of O.J. Simpson. Sian Williams, who spent more than a decade on BBC Breakfast, described him as the kindest, most generous of presenters and a wonderful friend. Another of his former co-hosts, Naga Munchetty, paid this tribute on air this morning.
I think today, after we get over the shock of this, we will start remembering the really funny things that Bill did. Like, just when I presented with him, his energy was amazing. He came into this programme and threw everything at it every single day. He was funny when we sat here on the sofa. He was a brilliant journalist. And he loved this programme and he loved serving you, the audience. So I'm sure you will miss him, but we certainly will too.
In one of his final policy speeches before he leaves office, the Prime Minister has promised £700 million for the new Sizewell C nuclear power station in Suffolk. Boris Johnson said he was absolutely confident the project would get over the line and argued the reluctance of previous governments to back nuclear energy had helped drive up bills.
Nuclear always looks, when you begin, it always looks relatively expensive to build and to run. Look at the results of Putin's war. It is certainly cheap by comparison with hydrocarbons today. In fact, if Hinkley Point C were already running this year, it would be cutting fuel bills by £3 billion.
Thousands of university staff, including cleaners, administrators and librarians, will go on strike later this year in a row about pay. Their union Unison said an offer worth 3% was in effect a wage cut because of inflation. The industrial action will affect 20 universities, including Leeds, Edinburgh Napier and Bath Spa. The Building Society nationwide says UK house prices grew by 10% in the year to August, despite pressures on people's budgets. The data shows the average property now costs £50,000 more than 2 years ago. But Nationwide believes there are signs of the market losing momentum, with surveyors reporting fewer new buyer inquiries and the number of mortgage approvals falling below pre-pandemic levels. A team of UN inspectors has arrived at the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia power plant in southeastern Ukraine on a mission to make sure fighting doesn't lead to a catastrophe at Europe's biggest nuclear power station. Ukraine says renewed Russian attacks have forced the shutdown of one of the reactors. Our correspondent in Kiev, Hugo Bachega, says the visit was meant to take place earlier.
The Ukrainians have accused the Russians of shelling the route this morning, and they also say that the Russians have been shelling the town where this facility is located. The Russians are accusing the Ukrainians of shelling this facility. So it really shows how difficult this mission is going to be for these international inspectors.
New figures show around 1 in 10 full-time posts in the NHS in England were vacant at the end of June. The rate is the highest since records began in 2018. The problem is the most severe in London, where the equivalent of 1 in 8 jobs was still to be filled. In football, Manchester United have completed the fourth most expensive signing in Premier League history by bringing the Brazilian winger Antony from Ajax. United have agreed to pay the Dutch champions up to £86.3 million. The summer transfer window closes at 11 o'clock tonight. A stowaway squirrel is being cared for after travelling halfway across the world on a ship to Aberdeen. Sally Johnson takes up the tale.
The palm squirrel, also known as a three-striped squirrel, had snuck onto the offshore vessel called the Deep Explorer. It's thought the ship had travelled from India, although its operator won't confirm the route it took. In any case, 3 weeks and thousands of miles later, animal rescue specialists were called in to check over the animal once the ship arrived in Aberdeen. They gave him the name Zippy because he was faster than a speeding bullet. Efforts are now being made to find Zippy a new home.
In the city a short time ago, the 100 share index was down 95 points at 7,190. And the weather forecast, it'll be a largely dry and fine afternoon with a few showers in northern and eastern England. Rain will also move into parts of the south. Top temperatures of 18 Celsius in Edinburgh, 19 in Belfast, 22 in Cardiff and 24 in London. BBC News, it's 1:05.
Zippy, Adam. It's Zippy, the squirrel, is it? Zippy or Nippy?
Zippy.
Zippy.
Definitely Zippy.
Definitely Zippy. Quite right, too. Well, I've ended up in Aberdeen many a time. Especially for a night out. Zippy's in for a great time.
In the deserts of Sudan and the gardens of Japan, from Milan to Yucatan, every woman's